Hi, I'm Rebecca Velasquez, licensed clinical social worker and yoga and meditation teacher, and I'm so grateful to be here speaking with you today. And I was asked by Better Postpartum to be offering to you all a talk for postpartum women on wellness and meditation and self-care tips, and to be sharing a little bit about my work with postpartum women and my business in general. So thank you so much for joining me, whether or not you're postpartum. And this is an interview, so I will be answering questions. So the first question is, how was I inspired to come into this work and to share my personal story? So as I said, I'm a licensed clinical social worker and yoga and meditation teacher. So when I was 17 years old, I went to my first ever yoga class, and I remember laughing throughout the entire class with my girlfriend. We were actually making fun of the teacher. We thought it was hysterical. But at the same time, I felt like, you know what, this really resonates with me, and this is almost familiar, and I've done this before, and it really clicked with me. So I graduated from college in 2001 and became certified to teach. And in 2003, I got my master's degree in social work, and I began working at various agencies. And then in October 2005, actually October 5th, and it's ironic because today is October 10th. I was going to be doing this filming October 5th, but it didn't work out that day. So anyway, October 5th, 2005, I was really feeling empty. I sort of got to the place in my life. I felt like I had achieved these outer things. Somebody else could look at my life and say, hey, you know what, there's so much more you could have accomplished. But internally, I really felt like I had gotten to the top of the mountain and, was looking around and wondering, what's the next thing to achieve? And, at the same time, I can't find that fulfillment on the outside, that I really need to go inward, and that something was missing. It was just really feeling this void of emptiness. And I remember meeting with my minister on that day, who had been meditating about 40 years or something at that time. And he was saying, you know what, it sounds like you're really having a spiritual awakening. You really should begin meditating. And I had heard about meditation. My old boss would always tell me, meditate. And I'd put it in my Palm Pilot. I remember we had Palm Pilots back in the day. But I never really did it. I wanted to do it. I didn't really know what it was, but I didn't really know how to, start a practice. So he was really helpful in teaching me how to begin a daily practice. And on October 6th, October 5th is when I really committed to doing a daily practice. And from the day of October 6th on, 2005, I have had a daily practice of meditation. And I just want to say how grateful I am to all my spiritual mentors over the years for their love and support and guiding me in my journey. So basically, I had a daily practice, and I would meditate 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, and then October 5th, again, this is a theme, 2009, I gave birth to my first son. So at that point, I decided not to go back to work full time and to be raising him. So basically, a little bit about my birth. I had a wonderful, beautiful, natural water birth, but I was very, very depleted after. I remember the midwife actually telling me, you were probably one of the most depleted postpartum women I've ever met. So I wasn't sure if I should have won an award or something, but it really validated my experience that I was very depleted. And I was very weepy. And I remember saying to my husband, I just want to go into the car and cry, and just spending a lot of the time crying and feeling very overwhelmed. And a lot of times people, give you that idea that when you have a baby, you're going to have this immediate, unconditional love connection with your baby. And to be honest, I didn't have that immediately. And I felt really guilty and ashamed because I didn't feel that. And I say that out loud because it's so much more common than you think. And actually 1 in 7 women have experienced postpartum depression or anxiety. And 1 in 10 men have experienced postpartum depression or anxiety. So it's really, very rampant, and it's something that needs to be talked about more. So when my son was 8 months, I really started feeling that bonding. And so it did happen for me, but it was a more gradual experience rather than this, oh my gosh, I'm in love. For a lot of it, I felt very just tired and kind of overwhelmed, but at the same time, it was exciting as well. So I just wanted to share a little bit about my story around giving birth and what really inspired me to be able to get trained to be working with postpartum women. So also for families in general who have just given birth to a baby, there's so many changes. There's, even for women who are not experiencing postpartum depression or anxiety, there are so many hormonal changes. There are family structure changes. So if you have other siblings, you're adding on a new sibling, there's a change for that sibling, for the older sibling. There can be financial issues for families who are used to supporting, just a couple and then, adding on a baby. So one parent might need to be working longer hours. There are changes within a marriage or a relationship that need to be noted. So it's just a time of enormous change, and the sleep deprivation is so huge and really needs to be noted. And I know when I was going through it, I don't know if I just didn't have a lot of friends who had given birth before me, but I was really overwhelmed by how tired I was. And I just guess I wasn't really prepared for that. So I just wanted to say, to normalize all that. So I'm going to be looking down at my notes and just making sure that I am not missing anything. And also, changes in family. It could be a mother-in-law living with you. It could be issues with breastfeeding. And it could be seasonal changes too. So I know I had a baby in October and I was going into the winter time, and weather changes can affect people too. So I just wanted to say that. So basically about 10 months after my son was born, I knew I didn't want to go back to work full time, but I wanted to keep my foot in the door professionally. And so I decided to see yoga clients part-time, maybe a few hours a week out of my guest room. And it was so fulfilling to me to be able to do work that I loved, and also just so nourishing for my soul. In the midst of feeling sleep deprivation, it was so nice to be able to connect with clients, to be able to practice yoga with them and practice meditation. So it's always been such a gift for me to be able to do this work. And in 2012, I became a licensed clinical social worker in private practice. So we redid our garage, we made it soundproof, and I was living in Connecticut at the time, and now I'm living in San Luis Obispo, California. So my studio in Connecticut, it was really a wonderful studio that allowed me to be able to work with clients, to do a lot of very cathartic work, a lot of active meditations, a lot of bioenergetic work. I'll go into a little bit more about what I do, but that's what I was pretty much doing. And then in 2016, there's an organization called Postpartum International, which is probably the largest postpartum organization worldwide. And they offered a training called maternal mental health training for psychotherapists, and that's the training I did, which is probably one of the most, if not the most comprehensive training for psychotherapists. So whether or not you're, working with me or anyone else, it's important that if you're experiencing postpartum depression or anxiety, that you're seeing somebody who is trained to be working with postpartum clients. That's really important, that they're understanding your situation, not just from a personal level, but also clinically. So, okay, what are my specializations and topics and areas of expertise? So as I said, I do a lot of active cathartic work with clients. It can be seated meditation, following the breath, following a mantra, doing Tritaka, candle gazing, walking meditations. And I have a funny story about that. When I was living in Connecticut and I'd take my clients outside, we lived on 0.6 acres, and we would do walking meditations, and we'd just be very slowly walking. And I remember my neighbor looking outside and him later telling me, I thought there were zombies in your property. I didn't understand what you were doing, just aimlessly walking. So I thought that was kind of funny. I'm also bilingual in Spanish. So if you or anybody that you know speaks Spanish and is looking for a psychotherapist, I'm happy to take Spanish-speaking clients. I primarily work with women, and it could be adolescents, young adults, older women who are struggling with anxiety, depression, again, postpartum issues, anger, decluttering issues, hoarding, life transitions, parenting skills, and more. But those are pretty much my specializations. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. And also just clients who are really willing to take an alternative approach to therapy, who are looking for a holistic spiritual approach, mind, body, spirit. So I'm going to show you a little bit about my work specifically. So this is a holistic eco map, and so in case you can't read it, I'm going to read it. So when I'm working with clients during the first session or so, I will do this, and whether it's postpartum clients or not postpartum clients. So I put the person's name in the middle, and then I'm going to read these. Extended family, spiritual, friends, hobbies, exercise, emotional health, school, work, money, self-care, child, baby, volunteering, community, sex, physical environment, spouse, partner, cultural values, children, baby, immediate family, mental health, hygiene, medical, sleep, household care, nutrition. I don't know if I said extended family. So this is really our entire life on paper, all the different areas of life that we really need to manage, and it's so much just to be able to handle for anybody. So that's why just being able to get support is really helpful for all of us. So I have my clients go around and just put a number 1 through 10, exactly where they're at on a given day. So it could be, you know, for a postpartum woman, sleep would probably be a 1, depending on if you have an easy baby or not. So that can really affect spouse-partner relationship, your child or baby care, if you're exhausted. Finances can affect partner relationships, and it could be self-care. You know, if you're doing more self-care, that can affect your emotional mental health. Nutrition can have an effect on, especially if you're nursing, child and baby care. So really the idea here is that all of these things interact with each other and they affect each other. So to me, that's really what taking a holistic approach to therapy means, is that we're taking into account all these different areas and how they work together. So an intervention in one area will affect the others. So even, so for a postpartum family, I will say, mother or father, I will do another exercise with them as well. So I will put their name in the middle, and it will be a system of support map. So a lot of times when I speak to women and I say, you know, what's your support? You know, who are the people that you can turn to for support? Immediately, you know, they might say, hey, you know what, I don't know if I really have a lot of support in my life. It feels like I'm very alone. But when we actually take out a map and we really, you know, put down names, it can be really helpful. And it might be, wow, I just realized I can turn to my neighbor and ask my neighbor to pick up my son at school. Or, wow, this friend that I might not know very well, I could actually ask them to make me a meal. So for a lot of women, this can be, and I'm going to put this away now, you know, for a lot of us in general, people, we're so used to being the caretakers. And the postpartum season, I will say season because it does pass, even though it doesn't feel like it will, you know, it's a season of receiving. So we really, you know, have to build that muscle within ourselves to be able to thrive during this period of time, and to be able to ask for help and to have the courage to be able to do that, to be bold enough to do that is really important. So, flexibility is really key. So when it comes to meditation, for example, I know I was somebody who, you know, I had my morning routine, I had my evening routine before having children, and then having, you know, a baby, it was like a bomb just got dropped in the middle of that equation. And I learned, you know what, if I'm going to survive or my baby's going to survive, there has to be some flexibility here. So I had to learn, you know what, mindfulness, being able to, you know, it could be soul gazing with your baby. You know, that's a beautiful spiritual practice. It could be washing your children's, you know, bottles if you're bottle feeding, and being really mindful about that. And it could be when your child is taking a nap, your baby's taking a nap, holding them in the baby carrier, and listen to their breathing. You know, coincide your breathing with their breathing. And or it could just be doing a mantra for 10 minutes while they're napping. So just so much flexibility, being able to keep meditation in your life, and you will also be able to reestablish that, you know, solid practice the way you've always had it with time. So I'm definitely a living example of that. You know, I've now reestablished my practice, and it feels so nice to be able to do that. And I want to say, you will sleep again. That is something that is so important for postpartum women to hear. I really felt like I was never going to sleep again, and just functioning at half-mast. And I remember being so tired one time that I was hallucinating. And it's combat fatigue, and it will pass. I don't know if my babies were just not the best sleepers, but I really struggled with the sleep deprivation. So I now have an 8 and 3-year-old, and it's glorious. I can get 7, even 8 hours of sleep if I want. So you will sleep again, and it will get easier. So I just need to be able to put that out there, and my heart goes out to all of you. So anyway, what are practical tips when working with postpartum women? So I talked a little bit about meditation, and I go into more depth with that with clients in terms of things that they can create in their sacred space for meditation, which will make meditating easier, especially if you have older children too, to be able to engage this as a practice in your whole family's life. And it's such a gift to be able to do. Journal writing. So I love journal writing. It's something that I talk to my clients about a lot, and I want to be able to offer you a few techniques that can help you. So one of which is a gratitude A to Z list. So if I say to you, what are you grateful for? Immediately you'll probably think about the same 5 things: my health, my children. But if I say, you know what, write every letter of the alphabet and write something for which you're grateful with that letter of the alphabet. It's fascinating what you can come up with. And that can take 5-10 minutes while you're nursing or bottle feeding or anything. 5 minutes. Another journal writing exercise would be an inner child journal writing exercise, I call it. So I actually write with my left hand. So if I'm going to do this exercise, I'm going to write down a question that I have that I don't know the answer to, just something I'm really kind of tail spinning about or feeling turmoil about inwardly, and I'm going to write it with my dominant hand, and then I'm going to answer it with my non-dominant hand. So it's fascinating the things that come up because you're using different hemispheres of the brain, the left and the right. And I remember doing this exercise a few years ago, and I wrote something like, how can I bring more joy into my life? And my right hand wrote tennis. And it was so simple, but it was so brilliant because it was something I'd sort of forgotten about. Wow, this tennis has always brought me such joy. And it's not something I do because I have to, but it's just something that I enjoy. And that moment on, I went and bought tennis shoes and got back out on the court. And even now, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing, wow, now that I'm here in California, I need to be getting back on the court. So it's nice for me to be able to hear this stuff too. Another journal writing exercise you can do is, I don't even know the name of it, but it's from a wonderful book by Stephanie Bennett Voigt called Clear Your Clutter and Discover Who You Are. And it's a book about space clearing and decluttering. So it's creating pull questions. So I feel ... and answering it. I think that ... I know that. I see that. I hope that, I'm afraid that, I love that, and just spending about 5 or 10 minutes answering those questions, and you get to see how the weather patterns of our emotions change over time. So what you're feeling today will be different tomorrow, and just being able to see this too shall pass. So that's really cool to know. A spa, creating a spa in your home. So I remember, when you have a newborn, being able to take a bath or a shower is literally like going to the spa, and it's a really wonderful experience to just shower. And I remember saying to my husband, you know what, I'm going on vacation, and just going down to the mailbox to get the mail. So that's what life is like during those early days. And so in terms of creating a spa in your home, just fill the bathtub, put some Epsom salt in, drop in some lavender. I did a garden produce series recently, and I spoke about lavender. I did a whole talk on that, so you can go on my website, and the benefits of lavender. You can take lavender, you can put it on the bottom of your feet. It will absorb through your body. You can mix it with fractionated coconut oil. Give your baby a massage with it. Drop a few drops on your pillow. As I said, drop it in the bathtub with Epsom salt. Put on some beautiful music. Stephen Halpern has beautiful music. John McLaughlin, Lotus Feet. Sound energy healing is wonderful. and just being able to engage the senses, and light a lavender candle, have a whole lavender experience. So, and you can even put in lavender buds in the bathtub too. You could go crazy. So, okay, what else? Mindfulness, flexibility. Oh yeah. And I wanted to talk about the benefits of crying. So this is not something that you really see talked about so much. And in our society, the idea of adults crying can have a big stigma. You know, we're taught growing up, have it all together, don't cry, be strong. But really, you know, if you do the research, you'll learn that there are so many benefits to crying. It actually balances out your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system to be able to really get into a state where you're surrendering. You can even get in the fetal position on the ground, let go and cry. And being able to let go on that level it's almost like a spiritual practice. And you can even visualize some affirmations as that's happening. So that can be very helpful, you know, as so many emotions are coming up. And it's something, you know, we don't want to be repressing our feelings. As we repress feelings and we're finding, you know what, I need to self-medicate in some way. And, you know, especially if we're nursing, those feelings get transmuted to our babies as well. So being able to just give ourselves permission to feel our feelings, going somewhere safe, bringing a tissue box or whatever, and just being able to feel our feelings is important. So anyway, I was just thinking, on another note, I had given a postpartum talk to a group, and one of the women afterwards said, wow, Rebecca, you know, just gave this talk, you know, about all these suggestions and everything, you know, you must have it all together if you have all this information. And I was laughing. I said, are you kidding me? The fire department was just at my house an hour ago. My son locked himself in the car and refused to unlock the door. And it's a miracle if I'm making it out of the grocery store in one piece with two small boys. So if anything, I need this work more than any of you all, and I'm definitely on the journey with you all. And I'm so grateful because I feel like I'll see a client and I kind of scratch my head and I'm like, wow, you need to be doing these things too, Rebecca. And just being able to hear myself say it, I'm essentially saying it for myself. You know, as I was giving a garden produce series before a few months ago, I was thinking, wow, I need to be really eating better. And so we're as I said, we're all on this journey together. So the last question is, how can you follow my business? And my website is www.rebeccarvelasquez.com. I've been offering various video blogs on Facebook. You can go on, I believe my Facebook page, my business page, Rebecca Velasquez Social Worker, is open. It should be open to the public. And I just came out with I'm coming out with two children's books. And one of them is called Sunshine and His Sack of Snakes. So that's actually geared toward children who have been affected by family dysfunction or addiction. So that will be published probably by the end of the month or in about, 2 months latest. And I have blogs on my website as well. I talk about integrating children into meditation. That's really been a series that I've been working on right now. And I have a YouTube channel. I'm occasionally on Instagram, and I offer Skype sessions. So I really want to emphasize Skype sessions because, especially if you're postpartum, that's a really wonderful way to be able to engage in psychotherapy. You've got your baby with you, you're in the comfort of your own home, and there's so much we can do. I've guided so many people in creating a daily practice of meditation and being able to offer psychotherapy via Skype. And there's a scarcity of psychotherapists, I will mention, who are trained in working with postpartum clients. So, as I said, I have done this training. You are absolutely welcome to call me. My number is 203-904-5717. My email is rebvelasquez@gmail.com. And I'm so grateful to be connected with you all today. And thank you so much for listening to me, and all the best.